Tony, did you know for a period of time, Zatanna used a trapdoor in every magic show she performed?
I believe it.
Yeah, it is true. But just for a period of time, though, because it was a stage she was going through. Sunday night and the greatest DC comic show on YouTube has found its way to you. Welcome to Fanboys Live in the Retro Review. On behalf of Tim the Comic Collector, Comic Food 2814, and Tony Fett, we welcome you, Signature King Tony Fett,
Yes.
we welcome you to this week's Fanboys Live in the Retro Review. How have you been, Tony? How was your week?
Not too bad. I think I'm on the tail end of whatever this is. I caught the kids brought something home from the daycare, daycare funk. So that's always fun.
Yeah.
But I think probably tomorrow I'll be on the turnaround. So that's good.
Awesome. Well, speedy recovery to you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Let's start out by looking at our live chat. Who's joining us? I Collect a Lot is our first one up. What's going on to you? It's great to have you popping by. We got a really exciting retro review tonight on a character that we really haven't spent too much time with. Anything else you want to talk about, Tony, before we get into the big news of the week? Because you know I'm a happy boy.
That's exactly what I was hoping we were going to talk about, but no, I got nothing. I'm ready to dive right into it.
Okay, let's do it. Big
so
news.
you kick it off. This is
I get to say it.
You say it, man. I'm sure you're excited.
I am excited. So, reports say Gal Gadot is in talks in creating Wonder Woman 3 with James Gunn.
Also confirmed by James Gunn.
Okay, confirmed by James Gunn. So
yes.
We're not done with Gal. There is a Wonder Woman 3 coming. I'm pretty psyched. It looks like Patty Jenkins is out, but Gal is still there.
And they shed more light on why she was kind of removed from the directorship of Wonder Woman 3s, because it was going to just be, from what I understand, like a continuation of Wonder Woman 84.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. It was basically going to be Wonder Woman 84 again. Wonder Woman was trying to bring back Steve Trevor. They run into trouble. They got to fix it. So, which is that's similar to 84.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So, I have a feeling, though, we might not be, and this is just me talking. This is not confirmed anywhere, okay? I got a feeling we might not be done with Kristen Wiig.
Funny you say that. Because you're right. Kristen Wiig is in talks to also return in Wonder Woman 83.
I have heard
Wonder Woman 83. The next Wonder Woman movie.
I have heard Gal say, when they were doing press for 84 before the movie came out, everyone starts talking about, well, what would the next one be? And someone said, who would you like the next Wonder Woman villain to be in the movie? And she said, honestly, I'd like it just to be a cheetah, more cheetah. And she said, she loved working with Kristen so much and they got along so well that she would like to see it be Cheetah as the main adversary, which it should have been.
I agree. It should have been either Maxwell Lord or Cheetah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's okay. Also, fantastic news for Wonder Woman. It is also confirmed by James Gunn. Wonder Woman will be played by Gal Gadot moving forward. So, all you big Gal Gadot fans, which I admit I'm one of them, happy day.
Of course, this is the DC universe, and sometimes they say, oh, Henry Cavill will be Superman, and then next thing you know, he isn't anymore.
Yeah, at least.
But as of right now, if their pants aren't on fire, then we should be okay.
And they said that obviously there's a lot more characters that will be coming over. So far, we have Viola Davis, John Cena, Margot Robbie. We can add Gal Gadot to the list. So there might be more. Rumor is possibly Zachary Levi continuing Shazam going forward. So who knows? Who knows? Nicolas Cage is Superman? I don't know.
Never know.
Never know. But it's been a pretty heavy Wonder Woman day for news-wise. There was a couple of minor articles. as it stands right now, they cannot move forward with Superman Legacy or any of the HBO projects until this writer's strike is over. So
okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, everything's probably going to be reshuffled, from what I understand. But you're right, that makes sense. We've anticipated that. Nick Hill and Teen Titans going to lose. Yeah, man.
Hey, how's it going? Aggressively relaxing. Thanks for stopping in.
Let me find another article here. There's another one. Where did I see it? Gosh, I don't remember where I saw it. So, they released a season 1 of Creature Commandos, The List. And season 1, where did I see it? Season 1 will have 13 episodes. But this is animated, so apparently they're also going to be live action somewhere, which begs the question, like, why even do animation at all if they're just going to appear live action?
Exactly.
You know? How do you feel about the animated stuff?
It doesn't excite me as much, but some of it's done well. I mean, DC's animated movies typically are really good. My only thing with them, to me, at the end, the last 10 minutes always feels rushed in every movie. It's like it had a really good pace, and then all of a sudden, it just felt so rushed. And I get that vibe in every DC movie animated. So, yeah, he's happy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it'll be good, but like, I just don't get drawn into. It's different if it's like, a DC animated movie. That's fine. I can watch the whole thing and be done with it. But like an animated series, like, I can't see it. What they should do is make it live action and have it kind of replace Doom Patrol a little bit. I was a big Doom Patrol fan.
Speaking of Doom Patrol, I think maybe last week I saw this and I omitted mentioning it on Fanboys, but James Gunn did say we will see the remaining Doom Patrol episodes. He doesn't know when, but he said, we're going to see them.
Remaining Doom Patrol episodes.
Because they split the last season into 2 parts, and they gave us the first part. And it's been a while, and they've never even announced when the next part, which has led to speculations and rumors that we weren't going to get it. But he said, no, we are.
A Batgirl type scenario. They film it, they pay money for it, and they just let it sit. It would not do them any good. Same thing. It drives me nuts about Batgirl. Like, just show us the movie. Like,
I got a feeling someday we'll see it. I don't know what day. Someday.
But speaking of Batgirl, that Leslie Grace, apparently Warner Brothers is going to recast her somewhere in the James Gunn verse. So
she would be a great Oracle.
Well,
if you're Batgirl, you can play Oracle.
That's true. But I don't know how good she did at Batgirl. We'll never know.
Oh, that's true.
She might have been terrible. I don't know where I'd put her. That's a good question. Maybe Vixen?
Ooh, Vixen.
Yeah, because there's never been a live action. That's not true. We had.
That's true. We did have a live action Vixen.
With 2 different versions.
Yeah. Vixen's a pretty damn cool character.
Exactly. I think she should be in the new DCU run by James Gunn for sure. I think it'd be kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
But news-wise, it looks pretty uneventful. Just Wonder Woman taking up all the news.
Yeah. I mentioned before how a couple of weeks ago I was talking about this, that Wonder Woman #1, Volume 2, the George Perez, is getting another facsimile release. But I didn't know this at the time, and I have since found out, not only is it getting another facsimile release, that release will have a foil variant and a blank sketch cover variant as well.
Trekkers are made it too much. That's what Star Trek project. Yeah, that's true. Boy, that'd be rough being a big Star Trek fan. All this reshuffling. I've been watching on the back end how I forget what network they're part of. I think it's Paramount.
Yeah, because some of it was on the Paramount app. I know.
Yeah, and they just a lot of things got canceled, some things got renewed, and I guess there's fans that are saying it should be the other way around.
Yeah,
whatever
I know
that
the big Star Trek convention is actually wrapping up today out in Las Vegas that they have every year, STLV.
Wow, I didn't know they had like an all Star Trek convention.
Yeah, they do, and it's like 4 days, I think,
wow.
if not even more, but at least 4 official days, and I think 1 day of like unofficial stuff. But yeah, that's wrapping up today.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, awesome. I got nothing.
Nothing else?
I got nothing.
Okay. Well, if you want to get ready to pull up the assist for the retro review, I'll talk a little bit about why I picked this story tonight.
Yeah, go for it.
So in 1987, they released, well, the original plan in 1987 was to release a 4-issue Zatanna limited series. And it was all systems go. And then DC decided, no, we're not going to do a 4-issue limited series. Instead, we're going to change it into 1 issue, a special issue, and they cut some pages out. That was done, and then condensed it down to 1. Why they decided to make that decision, I don't know. But that's what we have tonight, and Zatanna is also a character that we really haven't featured a whole lot on the retro review. And she's a damn cool character, you know? So that's what I thought we would do tonight. Let's take a look at the cover. So, Tony, your thoughts on the cover? You have your mic muted.
My bad. Who did the artwork on the cover? I was looking, but I
the artwork for the cover is Gray Morrow, who also did the interiors with a story by Gerry Conway.
Oh, Gerry Conway did this. Okay,
he wrote it, and Gray Morrow, who I'm not that familiar with, really.
Yeah, to say I don't recognize the name. Maybe this is his one shot, allegedly.
Yeah,
but I like it says triple sized adventure, and boy, they were not lying. This story is nothing but meat. There's no fat on this thing. There's no gristle.
Yeah. So I'll get us started. We're just doing this one book tonight, but Tony will take over at about the midway point.
Absolutely.
So there we have Zatanna. She's backstage getting ready to perform a magic show. You see a face in the mirror, and she sees it too, and it kind of startles her. But her manager, Jeff, is talking to her, and he's like, Earth to Zatanna, you have 3 minutes before the show starts. And she's like, oh, sorry, Jeff. Then she's like, do you believe in premonitions? He's like, well, I believe that if you're late for your first show, that we'll get fired. And she figures something's up, and in Atlantic City, she goes on time as the magician Zatanna. She's got some doves that appear. She's doing her regular magic show for the public. The next page has got 3 nice little images for you. And while this is going on, Jeff is watching from backstage, and he decides to light up a cigarette. And you see a little bit of it almost looks like a female body in the flame to the cigarettes. And that kind of alarms him too, because he notices it. So he's like, well, I tried quitting anyway. I shouldn't be smoking anyway. So whatever.
What reason to quit?
Yeah. As Zatanna's show goes on, the audience are enjoying her. She takes a volunteer from the audience. She brings them up there. All of a sudden, you see a python appears out of the newspaper. And Zatanna looks as startled as the man did. And Zatanna starts to deal with this python, and essentially she uses her, by saying her spells backwards, to eliminate the threat of the python. And at first, the audience doesn't exactly know what to make of it. Then they're like, oh, it's part of the show. It's part of her gimmick. Awesome. And Jeff is kind of like, backstage is like, what is going on? So we cut now to after the show, and Zatanna's driving. Jeff's in the car, and he's like, next time you're going to change something in the show, why don't you let me know ahead of time? And she's like, I didn't change the act, Jeff. The python was much of a surprise to me as it was to you. Jeff lights up another cigarette, and Zatanna happens to look over, and she sees the face of her mother in the flame to the cigarette, which is the same face that she saw in her dressing room mirror. All of a sudden, from a manhole, a fire has erupted out of there. Zatanna moves the car out of the way so they don't hit it. She hits a garbage can. She's got to get Jeff out of the car because she's worried about the gas tank setting on fire. She looks over at the fire and then uses her reverse magic to have the hydrant come up and take care of it. Although there seems to be like a creature or something's face in the image to that. But the water fire hydrant takes care of the flame, and she's a little perplexed. Back at her place, Jeff's clothes have been taken to the washing machine, so he's wearing a robe, and they're reminiscing about some of the things that we've done and what they just saw. And Jeff says, didn't you say you saw something about your mother? And her mother is Cindella. And she's like, Cindella is dead. It couldn't have been her. It's not possible. And she's like, what if my mother's trying to send me a signal? And Jeff's like, do you think that she's trying to reach out to you somehow? He's like, do you really expect me to believe that? And she's like, I don't want to believe it, Jeff. Leave it alone. And he's like hell. You know, every time I get close to you, you shut me out. It's like there's an invisible line between us. I stay on my side, you stay on yours. Well, that's not good enough anymore. And he kind of gives it to her. And you get the feeling that he has more feelings for her than just a friend or a manager who's concerned about their clients. And he's like, fine, just be like that. I'll see you around. And he goes slamming out the door. And you can see that she's upset by that. Then all of a sudden, knock, knock. And he's like, oh, I forgot. You've got my clothes. And she's happy that he's come back. And she kind of embraces him a little bit. So now the two are driving again. And we find out where they're heading to. Well, actually, before we find out where they're heading to, she decides that she wants to go on a trip. She needs a place to retreat from the reality of what she is, the kind of power she possesses. And Jeff's asking her about her past. And he says, okay, I understand that you wear your old stage magician's outfit when you're performing and use stage tricks instead of real magic because it lets you forget who you are. So who are you? What's the story, Z? Pretend I'm a stranger. Clue me in. And she says, my father was a magician, a real magician. My mother was a member of the other human race, Homo Magi, the hidden ones who linked apart from humanity, protected from discovery by a magic barrier in a place they called the Secret City. So as they start walking, they see this crack of thunder and lightning comes down, almost hits them. And they decide they need to get to the house. And the house that they're in is her father's old house. They're at his estate. And inside is Chasm, who is the master of the estate since Zatanna's father has passed away. And Jeff kind of asks Chasm if he believes in magic. And he's saying, you know, before I met Z, I thought all that stuff was just hocus pocus. And he's like, I grew up on a tough street in Chicago. I don't know how to believe in any of this. Lights a cigarette again, starts to see something. And we cut to him knocking on Zatanna's door. And he's like, we got to talk. And he's like, I saw her again. It's your mother. And she's like, no, you couldn't have imagined it. You couldn't have saw Cindella. And he's like, well, what are you saying? You believed me before when I told you about the other times. Why don't you believe me now? And she says, I don't know. I can't believe you, Jeff, because if you're right, it means Cindella is calling me and I must answer her call. But it means I have to go back to the city of the Homo Magi, the ones who betrayed my father. And he says, you have to or you want to? And she says, I don't know. So later, she's in her full Zatanna costume. She'd made up her mind, and she's ready to go. And it looks like Jeff's going to tag along, and they have horses. And she says, well, these aren't just ordinary horses. They're going to be able to protect us and take us exactly where we need to go. She tells Chasm to take care of himself. And she uses her spell, and her and Jeff set off on their journey. They're going almost all the way to Turkey, if I'm remembering correctly, which is near where the Secret City is located at. And she talks about how her father's death was an excuse to shut herself away from the world. She says, just as I've tried to shut my life into neat little compartments. And you see all these different colors that they're passing through. And she talks about, you know, she's Zatanna stage magician, Zatanna sorceress, Zatanna daughter, or Zatanna friend. And she says, you know, she doesn't know totally, and she denies the reality of what she possibly could be. And she's decided she needs to find out. And he says, well, is going there and answering Cinderella's call, is that going to give you your answer? And she says, it's a start. And he says, well, maybe not. Look. And this big fire erupts, and so far their journey has been relatively calm until this point. And they got the horses, and they're trying to get through. And what they find themselves all of a sudden inside something. And we as the viewer realize, as they'll soon realize, they're inside this huge python snake. They've been swallowed. So Zatanna creates some light so they can see from the inside. And Jeff is a little taken back with the backwards magic. You know, it makes him a little bit uncomfortable. And he says, oh boy, you know, looks like we're not in Kansas anymore. And she's like, well, this isn't the time to make up jokes. And he's like, who's joking? And he says, besides, jokes help me keep up my nerve, what little I have left. She says, you have more courage than you know. You're a good friend. And he says, thanks for noticing. But she realizes someone doesn't want her to reach the secret city and her mother's people, but who and why? All of a sudden, it's like this ball is headed to them. And it's like an acid venom. An acid venom is what it is. And she ducks out of the way, but it burns part of her mother's cape, which was made from her mother's conjuring gown. So she knows that the venom has magical power stronger than the spell her mother put over the clothing. And Jeff is like, why don't we just teleport? You can just teleport us somewhere else. Why don't we just do that? And she's like, well, we could get teleported to a place where we couldn't ever escape from. So that's why we're not going to do it. As they move on, they're now down into a very smelly and disgusting area. They come to realize they're in the digestive system of this python. And Zatanna uses some more magic, and in that final panel that you see, their appearance is altered a little bit too, but she feels that her magic is growing stronger with each step of their journey. And he's like, well, that's okay. And as they continue on trying to get out of the inside of this python that has swallowed them, she evolves. Her magic is feeling stronger and stronger as she goes, and they are eventually able to free themselves from the python. And they have reached finally the secret city, and the horses, you know, essentially land them. She's in the secret city, but where are all the people at? Then she hears, Zatanna, save yourself, go before you die. And that was said by the High Lord leader of her mother's people. And Jeff's like, well, maybe we should take their advice. And she says, High Lord, where are the people? And he's like, they're dying from an unknown sudden sleeping sickness. Only life-giving powers of the medulla jewel can save us. And she says, the medulla jewel? And he says, yes, but the last jewel died with your mother, Cinderella. And she says, no, you're wrong. I was born with a medulla jewel in my brain. And Jeff's like, don't volunteer us for anything. Then he says, then you must wear the optic gem and go to the Temple of Hope. Once there, place the power crown upon your head and cast the spell of curses. And she's like, I don't know the spell of curses. The chosen one will know what she must do when she places the crown upon her brow. Now hurry, there's so little time. So Zatanna gets this crown. She's getting ready to put it on. She's questioning Cinderella's image appearing to her back at Shadowcrest, her father's estate. Was it there to bring her to save these people? And then she says, and I thought this was really interesting. She says, another thing, Jeff, my mother wore this power crown, and if she is truly dead, it was the crown that killed her. And Jeff says, then why wear it? See, it's not your responsibility. And she says, but if it's not mine, then whose? My mother's people are dying here. And no matter what I may think of them, I carry Homo Magi blood in my veins. And Jeff asks her, how do you feel? And she says, much the same, only Jeff, I'm beginning to see and sense things in a way I never thought possible. It's as if I'm awakening and becoming one with 1,000 lives, each heartbeat, each desire I share. And then she screams. And then you start to see what she was talking about. Every heart, every soul of the Homo Magi reaching out, joining with me, we are one. And as our hearts beat together, I draw their lives, I draw their illness from them and recognize it as magical, a curse to be expelled. So she casts a curse, and next thing you know, she passes out. And Jeff finds her passed out. He grabs a hold of her and he's like, Zatanna, I love you. You can't die. My life would be nothing without you. So my thoughts that he wanted to stir the spaghetti sauce with her was completely correct. And Zatanna wakes up and she's like, did you say something? And he's like, you're alive. And she's like, and I'm soggy, because he was crying over her. He's like, temple water. I tried to revive you. Just go with it. And she's like, oh, really? And then now we got the race of that live in this secret place. They're all back. They're out of their spell. The leader's telling Zatanna has freed us. Let's welcome her to dwell among us for a lifetime. And they all hail Zatanna. She says, Hi, Lord, I'm sorry, but I can't stay. I have life in the outside world. He says, But Zatanna, the power crown has no power beyond these walls. Then she says, Then I must leave it behind. He's like, Nonsense, child. You have proven yourself to be truly one of us. Can you not see your place is here among the Homo Magi? And she's like, What choice do I have? She's talking to Jeff. My dead mother's spirit called me here. Perhaps I was meant to take her place. What do I do? Then they say, Child, the guardian of the Shrine of Ages might have such knowledge. His shrine is there atop of the highest mountain. And she knows she's going to travel there. And Tony, you'll pick up the remainder.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you want to call out the chat real quick. I see some people popping in.
No, I don't want to interrupt the story, so
sure,
we'll get into it after the story.
Yeah, so kicking things off here, this story makes way more sense now that I know what the first half is like, because I only read my half. But now I know that Jeff is her manager, not just some random dude. But also it makes their whole relationship like a little bit weird, because I imagine it's some kind of breach of contract, if they are in some kind of romantic partnership. But whatever. So Jeff and Zatanna hop on their magical horses again. And again, they're seeing all this, real Alice in Wonderland kind of stuff, just real bizarre. Sorry. Till they get to the point where they're trying to cross the chasm of fear, which has all these damn souls inside of it. A place you probably don't want to go to. But amongst all the evilness, Zatanna does see both her father, Zatara, and her mother's name. What was her mother's name again?
Cindella.
Cindella. I was going to say Cinderella, but
no, it's similar. It's Cindella.
Cindella and Zatara. She kind of sees their ghosts in the background. And she's saying like this is like destiny. Like I have to go do this, And Jeff's like, well, I guess I'm coming with you. You know what I mean? Like, we're in this together. We've come this far. Why stop? So eventually they get to their part of the mountain that they were trying to get to. I forget the name of the mountain, but yeah, they reach there and they're greeted by this guy, and his name is Cole. Kohl, the Ancient One Guardian, and they are at the Shrine of Ages, and he's taking them down to what looks like some kind of dungeon or worshipping altar, however you want to call it. But he was saying, I've been waiting for you specifically for a while now. It's about time you're here. We've been waiting what seems like centuries for you to get here. And she's very confused. That's all brand new to her. She's never been here before. She doesn't know who this guy is. But once they get down there, they see like something covered underneath of a tarp. So when he goes to pull the tarp away, it's a statue of Zatanna, and they're both just like, what the heck? Like, how do you have a statue of me? That's this old, but I've only Zatanna's young in this. I think she's in her 20s at this point. So they have this super old statue of Zatanna, bizarre. She's saying, listen, the people in the Shrine of Ages have chosen you to fix the darkness that has fallen upon the land, so to speak. And Zatanna's like, listen, I got no time for this. I need the optic gem like right now. And the elder, the ancient guardian, is like, the optic gem will guide you. And then he kind of like does an Obi-Wan Kenobi and just kind of like fades into his robe, which I thought was pretty funny. Excuse me. Jeff is like, hey, Zatanna, we got to get going. There's something funky going on here. And they see like these, I don't know what you call them. There's some kind of like ghost demon. At least I think it's like some kind of ghost demon because they are pretty transparent. But Zatanna does her spells. And I tried to, in the mirror, like hold my phone, like so I could read what she was saying, but like, yeah, it's a little bit different. Because for those of you who don't know about Zatanna, all her spells, like what Lasso said, they're backwards. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. So she calls upon some good demon, I'm going to say, some good demon to fight the bad one. And while they're doing battle, they see that as an opportunity to run. And they happen to stumble upon Allura, which we learn that, I think it was on this page. What? Did I pass it? Well, anyway, Allura, I think that's how you say her name, is her mother's arch enemy, which is pretty cool. I don't know if I'm a big fan of the outfit, but it's still cool. Lasso, what do you think? Real quick on the outfit. Yay, nay?
Yeah, more nay than yay.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like she's going to watch a Vikings game at a biker bar. But that's the kind of vibes I got of it. I agree. Not a fan of it.
One boot above the knee, one boot below the knee. That's kind of odd.
Yeah, one has chains on it. The other one doesn't. I don't like whatever these wing things are. Yeah. And she's got like gold stuff like on her nipples, but it's like all chained together. Very weird outfit. Very weird costume design. But yes, Allura is her name, and she is the bad guy to her mother. So we cut to back to Zatanna and Jeff. Remember, they dove into the pool. And apparently it's this never-ending pool. I get the sense that they essentially what they did is flush themselves because they're going round and round and round. And they, well, Zatanna at least comes out on the other side. She's like, holy cow, it's Shadowcrest. Like, this is my house. Like, how did I get here? So she goes down to her house and she's greeted by her dad. Very bizarre because he's long gone. But she doesn't really understand, at least like at this point, maybe, I don't know how she's processing it, but she knows her dad is dead. But maybe she's just kind of blocking it. And then we have this very ominous looking tree here. Cut to several hours later, she's in her house. It's dark. It's, everyone's in bed, and she gets found by the butler, and his name was, I cannot remember, Chasm.
Yeah.
Chasm.
And she's wearing her nightie.
She's wearing a nightie, a very slightly dressed Zatanna. So Chasm is like, hey, you're awake. What can I do? And he offers her the weird remedy for sleeping. Some kind of broth. Oh, yeah. Well, let me prepare a broth for you. He calls it a broth. When I think of broth, I think of like chicken broth or beef broth. So, but anyway, she's saying, listen, I can't sleep. It's these trees in the forest back there, and it's freaking me out. Like something just ain't right, and she's starting to figure it out. Like, I'm just really tired. I'm not losing my mind, but like something is going on here. And then she kind of comes to a realization that this isn't her house, and these magical things start to happen. I can only compare it to the mirror dimension in Doctor Strange, where it's kind of like glass breaking kind of thing.
Yeah, that tree that was never there before seemed to be what really convinced her, that because she knew the grounds, she knew this place, and that tree was an old tree, and it was never there before.
Yeah, the very ominous looking tree. It turns out that it's Allura and her magical reptilian monkey. I don't know what you call it, but she's like, hey, I have you here trapped, and I'm gonna finally get my revenge for what your mother did to me, on you. And it turns out Allura already has Jeffrey in some kind of carbonite-like substance. But here's the back end of that costume for everyone who's interested. Really doesn't do it any favors, in my opinion. Not a fan. But turns out that the Allura, this is where it makes more sense now that I know the first half of the story with the serpent or the snakes or whatever, because how I interpreted that is Allura, because in this panel here, she's kind of controlling a magical snake. And if you recall, during the first half of the story, they had a magical snake attack Zatanna in the middle of her show. So that's, to me, that means it's Allura. Maybe that's her.
Yeah, and they ended up inside of a snake.
Yeah, they ended up inside of a snake. Yep.
And Allura was also the one that sent up that fire bomb from the manhole during my portion early when she was driving after the show. It was all her trying to prevent her from getting to the secret city.
Yep. And now we know who's the bad guy behind the strings, pulling, or behind the scenes. I'm sorry, but as Zatanna is getting what's the word? Constricted by this snake thing. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word snake. Anyway, but she's starting to read. Like, I don't know how you call it, but she had like this vision of the tree, and it was her mother, Cinderella, not Cinderella, Cinderella, Mother Cinderella. And she's like, "Holy cow, Mom! You came from back from the dead. Like, what are you here?" And I've been seeing visions of you and all this other stuff. Tell me what to do. And she's like, "Listen, excuse me." She says, "Mother, I'm so tired. What do I do? How do I save my friends? How do I fix all this?" And, of course, every mother's kind of response is, all the answers you seek are within your grasp in this little panel up here, which I thought was it's not intentionally funny, just maybe this way I read it in my head, but just like, oh, I'm not telling you, you got to figure it out. Of course, that's not what they meant, but she says, "Listen, good always trumps evil. You're born of the Magi people. Like, you can solve this, you can do it. I can't give you the direct answer. But you have it inside of you." So where'd that panel go here? But gosh, she gets the amulet. What was the name of the amulet? I can never remember this thing. Is it the amulet of life? Gosh, I don't remember. I already forgot what they sent her on the mission for. What was the amulet? Do you remember? Amulet of Ages? No.
Of course, now you're testing me too.
Yeah, I know. Got like this head cold. Maybe I'm gonna blame it on the head cold. I cannot remember what she had. They got the amulet now, so they can fix it. But I can't remember what the heck it was called. Anyway, they got the amulet, and her mother's going back into the tree. "My daughter, you must destroy the enemy. You are the daughter of my heart." And she's confused. She says, "Mother, like, what enemy are you talking about?" Just as she says that, she like these like zombie hands come up, and they start to pull her down, like a scene out of Poltergeist. And now Allura is this big green devilish monster, and Zatanna is really small, but I don't think Allura kind of knows how powerful Zatanna really is. But I also think that Zatanna also doesn't know how powerful she is. So this is like her trying to her learning how to like do. She can do kind of some basic magic, but she doesn't know like how powerful she is. So she's trying to learn all this stuff. But she says she gets angry and casts this big spell. And I think it's Tentacles Release. I don't know. But anyway, that does the trick. She's free. We cut back to the house where Chasm and Chasm and Jeffrey are alive and well. And they're kind of talking about his relationship with Zatanna. And Chasm says, "Yeah, she's got feelings for you. But you can't really destroy. Don't you? He's being like a good friend to Zatanna and also trying to be a mentor to him. He says, may Allah guide you on your path. But if you kind of read between the lines of what he's saying, it's like, listen, if you break Zatanna's heart, she'll break the world. So if you could like not do that, that would be awesome. She has the ability to just like rip us all in half. But Zatanna kind of wakes up in the gardens of her father's estate, accompanied by Jeff. And they have this really romantic kind of moment where they're, the whole what just happened? I can't believe you're here. It's good to see you, that kind of thing. And the next panel is the circle of life is complete, where she sees the aura of her mom and dad up in the trees, and they're looking on her fondly with her friend. I don't know if they take it to the next level, but they kind of leave it up for debate. The circle of life is complete. But go ahead and fill out your fan awards for 1986 while I still got time. And it is in Wisconsin. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I read it on DC app, so I didn't have ads.
It's in Iola, Wisconsin.
Iola, okay.
I don't know where that is, but...
So one thing that I thought was interesting...
and then we have a really cool ad for last week's show. Yeah. We should have read this one first.
Yeah, we should have.
That would have been really cool.
When Zatanna and Allura were fighting, Allura at first is like, Zatanna, your magic doesn't work the way you think it does here. And Zatanna starts to think about that. And if you noticed, when she's finally able to defeat Allura, she didn't say her spells backwards. She said them normally, because things were reversed. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I didn't catch that. When the I forget what she said, to release something.
Yeah, with the pythons.
Pythons, yeah, that's what it was.
She said the spell normally. She didn't say it backwards like she always does, and that goes back to, maybe once again the villain was monologuing, and maybe had they not monologued, they would have won. But we have some more thoughts about that. But first, I want to catch up to some folks in the chat with us. Michael is here. How you doing, Michael? I would say hi to Kenneth as well. We say 9,000 hellos to Super Russ. Paul S. is here. Hope you're doing well. Congratulations to Paul on that Super Friends. That's awesome that you were able to do that. Those aren't always the easiest books to find, let alone in nicer condition too. And then James Warlord is here too. So awesome. So Tony, overall, what are your thoughts on this story? And would it have been better if it would have been a 4-issue miniseries?
I like the book, but I'm going to say yes to a 4-issue miniseries. There were some things I feel like they could have done a little bit deeper dive into some of the details, but that's okay. I really don't particularly care for these, triple-sized issues as they advertise them. Just for that, it actually depends. This one was actually pretty good. Some of them I really don't care for, but I like leaving it on a cliffhanger. Like an episode on TV. Go get next week's issue, but yeah, it's not too bad. I liked it.
Yeah, I myself thought it would have worked a little bit better as a miniseries, and there's some stuff that I can tell. When I said at the beginning that they did cut pages, I can definitely tell that they cut some pages, because there's a few things that kind of take a sharp turn, and then something too like Allura just showing up, like there was no indication of her, even though
we got no backstory either. No.
Yeah. Even though, later she says, I was the one who shot the flame from the manhole and the serpent, and all of that was me. But you didn't have any of that earlier on. So her appearance at first it almost seems odd.
Yeah.
But I say that overall, I actually really did like this story. It wasn't very dialogue heavy, because there's some pages, that I had too, that you can just fly through because it's only a couple word balloons throughout the entire page. Yeah. The artwork is fair to decent. Story was pretty good. Would have liked it a little bit better as a 4-issue mini. And I did see a couple parts where I'm like, oh, this is where they would have left off. This would have been the cliffhanger of an issue at that part,
Yep.
you know. But like I said, I definitely could tell that they cut some pages as well. So overall, though, it was enjoyable for me. And a little bit later on when we do the book show, I'll show something that ties into the story that we read today. But I'm going to do 3.5 out of 5. Just because I haven't read it in so long. And it was enjoyable.
I agree. That's probably where I'm going to land. Nice, solid 3.5.
Okay.
Wait, did you say 3.5 or did you say 2.5? Okay,
3.5.
3.5. Yeah, I'm going to agree. 3.5. The artwork, I love the old 70s style art. Is that when this came? No, 80s.
87.
80s.
Beginning of 87. So it was made in 86.
70s, 80s. And I now just realized for my book show where I recognize the art. We'll go over that in a minute, but I love that art style. So that's what kept me engaged. The writing, is hit or miss. Just because they had to cram a story into one issue. But we already went over that. But a 3 out of 5. I would pick this up, if I stumbled across it somewhere in the wild, easily. Yeah. Absolutely.
And for those that own it, like myself, I do own a physical copy of this. This is the last book in my collection. When you go through all your boxes, Zatanna Special. It's usually the last book if a collector has this book in their box.
Is this a key?
I don't think so.
Let me look it up. Zatanna Special.
I'll also say while you're doing that, Zatanna had, and Jeff was a character as well. She had her own solo stories, which weren't very long, as part of the 100-page World's Finest issues for a time in the 1980s as well. So, and I'm trying to put some of that collection together for me as well. I think it would be in World's Finest, like in the 270s and 280s. She was in there.
It doesn't want to load, but I don't know if this is a key. I would still pick it up just because it's it's a good Zatanna story.
Yeah.
And I think at that time there weren't too many of those. Even today, there's not too many good, solid Zatanna standalone stories. It's a very underutilized character, and I hope and pray that we see this live action somewhere. I think it'd be.
So how's the Zatanna series like when she had her ongoing series? Ironically, I don't have any of that. I have the special, but like the ones that came in in the 90s or 2000s.
Oh, I thought we were talking about New 52 version.
Or even that. How is any of the standalone Zatanna? It's one of those where the covers are fantastic, but the books. Yeah, there's a lot of Adam Hughes covers.
Yeah, I was gonna say Adam Hughes hit a home run on everything he touched. So
yeah,
you get a lot of that. Cover is way better than the.
I understand that from being a Wonder Woman collector.
Yeah.
And there's some books that are keys of Wonder Woman's just because he did the cover, and the cover is fantastic.
Yeah, that's a whole nother rant for me. I hate it when they list keys as just because that person did the cover, it's a key now. Like, come on, man. No, it's not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that's a great story. So
awesome.
When did you read this?
When it first came out, and I haven't read it since.
Well, I didn't want to age you, but okay.
I read it when it first came out, and I haven't read it since.
Do you know when in 87 this came out?
Like January. So it was right at the beginning.
I wasn't.
This would have been post-crisis.
Yeah, I wasn't alive yet. Just for the record.
And somehow we've lost Tony from the stream tonight.
Well, that's why I was trying to ask politely, when did you read this story? And then you said, right away it came out. Like, okay. But I didn't know this story at all. I don't think I've ever seen this anywhere.
No one talks about this. No one really does anything with this. And books can be good if they're not keys. That's one thing the community needs to remember. And there's a fair shot of people that know that. But a lot of the other community needs to be reminded that books can be good if they're not keys.
Yeah, that's the age we live in right now where collectors, they're only chasing high dollar books, and that's really it.
I still, and my eyes will roll when I hear this, and I have heard it. You know, so I'll hear two people talking in a comic shop, and one will say something about an issue, and the other one will go, "Yeah, but it's not a key." Who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
Who cares?
Yeah.
That doesn't make it better.
You think when these books were coming out in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, they were like, oh, is it a key? Well,
yeah, exactly. Then if that was what they were thinking, everyone would be a key.
Yeah, look at the Death of Superman. You know,
Yeah.
People thought they were going to pay off their mortgages with that book.
I think Comic Fu was one of them.
Yeah, he probably was.
Yeah, and since he couldn't pay off his mortgage, he's been out working the streets.
Yeah. He's still on. He's still doing it.
Yeah. Well, let's go into our book show portion and talk about our channels, and we'll probably have a few minutes left for questions and answers if anyone in the chat wants to ask us something, because I want to kind of wrap up right around the hour mark.
Yep.
So do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
I'll go first. I got a couple.
Sure. Go ahead.
A couple of books here. I think I've shown this one before somewhere else, but I have here the TC Superstars of Magic, Zatanna Giant.
I need to get that.
This one I'm actually going to send in probably at Baltimore Comic Con. It needs a press hardcore, and then I'm gonna slab it just because, you know, it's beautiful. And now when I was saying I recognize the art, the guy who did this also just did the story that we did, cover and everything. So that's kind of cool.
Okay.
The most recent pickup of Zatanna that I have, that's a key, is the second appearance of Zatanna in the Atom, which is pretty cool. So
yeah, that's pretty awesome.
My LCS had this one on the cheapity cheap. So
interestingly enough, in her first appearance, she didn't make the cover. In her second appearance, it was just her head. It takes to her third appearance before her full body is actually seen on a cover.
Yeah, and I love all three of those appearances. She's in someone else's comic, I think. She's not even her own, but that's my book show. Is what's on my channel. I highly recommend, if you have not seen my latest unboxing video, please do so. It is an unboxing like I have never ever done before. The comments alone that people are leaving is worth every second I spent on it, because it's just hilarious. It's kind of goofy, it's kind of wild, but wait till you see what I unboxed. It's very fun. Very fun.
It's cool. And by the way, a link to Tony's channel and all of the other fanboys, regardless if they're here or not, is in the description to this video. So you can check that out there.
I had a question, and my answer is no. I'm not sure. I have no idea.
Okay. So on my channel, there's going to be a back issue of the week short tomorrow. Fingers crossed, because it hasn't been produced yet. And it's dropping in, I don't know, about 14 hours. So it hasn't even been decided upon yet what it's going to be. So fingers crossed. That's dropping on my channel tomorrow. So Tim the Comic Collector, one of our fanboys, just today dropped a video of a trade that I did with him, a trade / AOK that I did with him. And he dropped that video today. It's on his channel if you want to check it out. On Tuesday, my comic book editions is my portion of it, of the trade that we did, and an AOK that I received from Tim the Comic Collector. So you can watch Tim's video on his channel right now. Then Tuesday, you'll see my video coming out. So that's what's coming up. What's on my channel already is a back issue of the week short. It's a Marvel themed one. And then this past week on my channel, for my regular comic book editions video, I did a Batman and the Outsiders haul. So you see some books that back issues that I recently added from Batman and the Outsiders. So that's cool. I pulled, as I said, something that ties in. I'm going to show two things, and one of them ties in specifically with the story we read tonight for my book show. The first one is Justice League 161, when Zatanna wore a different outfit, and they're asking her to join. They say, congratulations, we want you to join the Justice League, and she's having none of it. Not the first superhero who has, of course, we know she does end up joining, but at first she is really not interested. Then the other book that I wanted to show, and this is the one that ties into the story. They did a lot of talking about Cindella, her mother. And in Justice League 164 is where Zatanna finds her mother, because she believed her mother to be dead from a car accident, but that wasn't true. She was kidnapped by her people and brought back to the secret land. And there's Syndella right over there, Tony. And this issue ends up with the death of Syndella. And then in the next issue, 165, that story starts out with Syndella's funeral. But I remember first time I ever saw this cover was at a grocery store, and I got it. So I have a lot of memories associated with this cover too. So I thought that would be a fun book show for tonight.
Very cool.
Yeah. So anyone, we've got just a couple minutes left, maybe about 3-4 minutes left. If anyone has any questions that they want to ask, otherwise we'll get ready to wrap up the show. Do we know when Comic Fu is coming back?
I don't know.
The furry tour is still going on?
Yeah, it's still going. I do have one thing to want to quick touch on. That
yeah, go ahead.
Our friend Shebab wanted me to talk about this project I've been working on with the state library.
Yeah, do that.
So I didn't initiate the project. The Pennsylvania has their own state library where they have all the archives and everything. But anyway, not sure how it started, but they went on their own and they started to catalog every artist that has resided in or born in Pennsylvania, and started to catalog all their works. And they reached out to the estate of Steve Ditko. This is when he was still alive. This is many years ago. And he donated a truckload of stuff. And they're still getting stuff from his estate, even though he's long gone. But long story short, some more stuff is coming in from some talent that I was unaware that was local to me. Some huge names in the industry, some of the biggest ones out there, which blew my mind. So stay tuned. I'm going to help catalog some of their stuff, and they've given me full permission to post pictures and make videos about it. So stay tuned for that. I'm very excited. So happy to be a part of it.
That's really awesome.
Very happy to be part of it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I did watch, I haven't left a comment yet, but I wasn't able to watch it live, but Shebab did a live dive on in tribute to Neil Adams on her channel yesterday.
I was in and out, but I was listening to it.
Yeah, that was really good. And they showed some great covers too.
Absolutely.
Some that I don't know if I had seen before, and some that's always great to see again. So.
It's Neil Adams. Like, is any of it not cool to see?
Yeah,
it's always cool.
Even if you've seen it a gazillion times, it's still
if I had a big poster on my wall and someone showed it to me, I'm just as happy to see it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all cool.
There's a Neil Adams Wonder Woman poster. I think it's called the Wall Buster because it looks like she's punching through a wall. It's from the 1970s. I don't have one of those, and I need one of those. They go a little bit high. When they don't come up on eBay as much as they used to, and when they do, they go a little bit higher than what I'm comfortable with. Man, it's an awesome image.
There was an eBay listing close to me where they had a lot of like 75 posters, like promo posters from the early 80s to modern, and that poster was in it. And I almost bought it just for that poster, but
that's worth it. So
just because of how cool it was, and it was DC Marvel Image, it was all mixed. But I was like, cool. What am I gonna do with the other craps? Like, I won't.
Yeah. To answer Jedi Farce's question, I hate to say this, I don't watch a lot of trailers, so I don't know a whole lot about this. I would definitely check it out just because it is gal oriented, because that's my wheelhouse. But now that you've mentioned it, that sounds like something I need to check into and get back to you with an answer in the future. But thanks for the question. Do appreciate it.
I saw the trailer. Looks like a good popcorn movie.
Nice.
We need some, we definitely need Gal Gadot in our lives. So I don't know if I'll see it, but it looks like a good movie.
Awesome. So as Tony always says too, make sure to sub everyone up in the chat because so many people put out so many good content in our comic community, and everyone deserves to see their work appreciated and to grow the community. And
absolutely,
your best friend might be in this chat with you, and you've never even spoken to them yet. You have no idea.
You'd be surprised how often too I interact with everybody in the chat, and then I watched their video and I was like, why am I not subscribed to this guy? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
he's been a friend of mine for what seems like ages now. Like, well, I just feel small.
Yeah. That wraps up today's Fanboys Live and the Retro Review. I'm planning on it being on my channel again. Thanks, Russ. I'm planning on it being on my channel again next week, so join us then. Until then, have a fantastic week, and we will catch you soon. Bye.